You have spent your entire life trying to gain something, trying to earn something, trying to grow something, trying to become something that you have never lost. We've been conditioned our entire life to seek anything other than ourself to find happiness. This seeking is not our fault. It's just the way we've been conditioned, especially in this hemisphere. That everything that we long for is to be found out here. That's the story. Out here in wealth and in careers and in objects, relationships, substances, activities. But all of that is in search of one thing: yourself. You're in search of ever-present happiness. And we've been conditioned our entire life that it's out here and we've got to find it. This message tonight is saying that everything that we seek for and are seeking for and searching for is ourself. And that we need absolutely nothing other than ourself to know ourself and be ever-presently happy. This message is so utterly simple that the mind writes it off as unattainable. It can't be this simple. It just cannot be this simple. The mind will say. Your ego will say. So what is being pointed to here tonight is unimaginable. It's unbelievable. Unfathomable. Impossible. And yet, what it is we're seeking is present here right at this very moment. Because you're never not yourself. What's being pointed to here tonight is known as nonduality. Nonduality means not two. That there isn't dualism here. Somehow there isn't dualism here. And that's what I'm going to point to you tonight. That's what I'm going to attempt to try to describe to you tonight, what non-duality is. It can't be known. You can't know this with your mind. You can't describe it. It's unnameable. It's unknowable. Yet you are it at this very moment. So what is being suggested is a new model or a different model of reality than what we have right now. The current model of reality goes something like this. 13.8 billion years ago, there was a massive physical event known as the Big Bang. Over the course of billions of years, that explosion solidified and cooled and became the cosmos that we know today. a few million years ago, the apes that had slithered out of the ooze went from 4 legs to stand up on 2, and in that process, a brain was developed, and as that brain was developing, consciousness started to arise out of that gave us our capacity to create society as we know it today. That is a dualistic, we can call that dualism. That's a dualistic approach because everything has opposites. There's right and wrong, there's full and empty, there's up and down, there's contrast, there is duality. Where it gets perplexing is that this modern day reality, we could also call this modern day reality a matter first. Matter happened, matter blew up, the universe, the cosmos is made of matter, and consciousness is secondary to it. It came into play billions of years later. So where it gets perplexing is that there is not one shred of evidence for this model. Western academia has never located this modern day model of reality. Let me give you some examples. Quantum physicists have known for over 100 years that matter doesn't have its own standalone existence. That these tables and chairs and floors and people, they've never found it. They've never found this before. Every time they go looking for it, they always end up in dimensionless unknowing. So, for example, the wood floor. Wood is made of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is made out of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen is made out of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Electrons, protons, and neutrons are made out of Higgs bosons. Higgs bosons are made out of neutrinos. Neutrinos are made out of dark matter, and dark matter is made out of dark energy, and they have no idea what dark energy is. None. It's a fabric. They understand it mathematically. That is an interwoven one fabric of the cosmos that is non-local, like they call it, which means when you touch the cosmos over here, everywhere else in the cosmos simultaneously knows that that's happening. So there's no localization within the cosmos. It's all one. Neuroscientists still today have absolutely no plausible idea how consciousness arises out of brain activity. Or you could say how consciousness arises out of matter. Because the brain is just matter. And yet, the entire Western world is based on that. It's based on consciousness arising out of the brain. The third perplexing piece of it all is that neuroscientists and psychologists have never found an ego. They've never found an individual or a person. Stated otherwise, they've never found your mind. Still today, they don't know if it's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the brain. They don't know how it works. They can't isolate it. So, still today, what this is saying is they haven't found your body. They haven't found matter. So they haven't found your body. They haven't found your mind. And they have no idea how all of this is coming out of the brain and consciousness. So what's being proposed here is that matter first model is what's driving all of the inner turmoil that we experience and all of the external turmoil that we have been drastically seeing over the last few years. Because the model of reality is incorrect. This matter first model, this dualistic model, at its core is a model of separation. That all of these 8 billion people have their own independent existence, separate from everybody else's existence. So there's a bunch of localized existences running around, controlling or manipulating the other objects within the world. The moment that I think that you're over there and I'm over here, I have to defend myself from you in some way. I have to be cautious of you because there's a possibility, of course not specifically you, but you in general, us in general, world in general, is trying to better itself. Each person's trying to better itself because it's in a state of fight or flight, so to speak, because it believes it's separate from one another. So you'd say, oh, okay, let's take academia's findings. So what? I still feel like I'm here, and it sure does seem like you're over there. So how do I get on board with these findings? And how do I experience them? Can they be experienced? Because the model says it's separation, but the finding says there's nothing but unity here. So how do I get on board with a unity first model, so to speak, instead of a separation first model? This is when you bring in the Eastern philosophies or mindsets. This is where non-duality comes in. Non-duality arises out of a body of knowledge out of India known as Advaita Vedanta. Advaita literally means not two, or said differently, one without a second. Advaita, and so Vedanta, it's Advaita Vedanta. Vedanta means, in a Western term, it would mean philosophy. So it's a not to philosophy, but more clearly stated from an Eastern point of view, it's a way of being. Non-duality is a way of being. Advaita is a way of being. So Advaita and non-duality are interchangeable, and I will use them interchangeably. So Advaita states that there's only one reality. Where if we contrast that against the matter-first model, the matter-first model says there's at least 8 billion realities, where we each have our own little reality of existence. This Advaita says, no, there's only one reality. There's only one substance here. There's only one substance that is only appearing as many objects. Advaita says that this one reality is yourself, is self. And that the self is the single residence of peace, happiness, and love. So what Advaita is saying is that this one reality, they break it down into a 3-part system that is still only one. They say it's Sat, Chit, Ananda. That's Sanskrit for Sat is existence or being. Chit is consciousness, awareness, or knowing. And Ananda is bliss, or peace, happiness, love, joy, beauty, all of the wonderful qualities that we're all after. So Advaita states that the self is existence that knows itself as existence, and when you know yourself as this one knowing existence, the qualities that come out of it is bliss. And you know this to be absolutely true right at this very moment. You exist, and you know you exist. If there's only one thing you know for absolute certain, is that you exist. Ask yourself the question, do I exist? Notice that you paused for a moment. You went somewhere to retrieve this answer of yes. Yes was found, and it was brought back, yes, I exist. Notice that you didn't second guess that answer of yes is so interwoven into your being that of course I exist. Also notice that you didn't consult your mind to find that answer. You didn't go here to say, hey, brain, ego, myself, my ego self, do I exist? You didn't do that. You went in to a place, you found the answer of yes, and you delivered it. Even if you were going to try and be a smarty pants and say, I don't exist, well, what had to exist to know that you don't exist? Your existence is inescapable. Even if your life depended on it, you couldn't escape your existence if you tried. Even if you were to take your own life. Which is strange because, in a sense, we take our own lives every night when we sleep. We let the ego go. We die. The ego dies every night when we sleep. That's why we love sleep, because this ego is such a burden. And when we fall asleep in deep sleep, we wake up the next morning saying, I slept well or I didn't. Well, what was aware? What was aware that you slept well? Ego wasn't there. You weren't there. What was there? Your knowing existence. It was dark. It's dark. I black out. And it seems like it's just a moment. I put my head down and 6 hours later or 8 hours later, I wake up. What was aware that there was no time? What was aware that it was dark? You, yourself. So this place that you went to is yourself, is existence. It's knowing existence. You went into existence, you asked if it existed, and it knows that it exists, and you deliver the question or the answer of yes. That is yourself. So this is Advaita. This is non-duality. Non-duality again says there's one substance here. And this one substance is total unity. When you know yourself, you know this one reality as unity, and therefore you're not over there and I'm not over here anymore. And fears drop away. So that's the new model. We're saying the current model is flawed, which creates all of the turmoil in the world and the turmoil within ourselves. And we're moving to a model of unity where, because there's no separation known, then this is not a threat anymore. It doesn't mean that you don't move away from things you don't find that could benefit, so to speak. You do still move away. There's an element of preservation. But you don't get scared or fear from it.